What is up, Tampa Bay? I am so excited to be back with y'all, and I am joined by the most amazing hostess, Miss Stacey Amy. Good evening.
Good evening. It has been a long time.
It has. I feel like I was just gone forever, but it was a wonderful time. Got refreshed, and now we get to come back and hang with the crew, and excited to do that, y'all. We got some really cool stuff to talk about tonight. We're gonna get into that for sure. We're talking play zones for kids, which you're going to want to know about. We have made a top 10 list that is super important, not only to our clients who are currently moving in or residents here in Tampa Bay, but for people who are considering moving to the area too. Trust me, you're going to want to know about this. We're all talk about development. There's a lot going on right now, Stacey. A lot. Between
That's good.
Yeah, between St. Pete and Tampa and even up into Pasco County, there is a ton of new development. And I'm not talking specifically just about housing. I'm talking about businesses and hospitals and data centers and research centers all going up in the area here. So we're going to get into that conversation today as well. We're also going to talk about some real estate. Of course, we're going to get into that. I'm going to offer you guys an opportunity to be my neighbor. Don't all of you run to it at once. Trust me, you're going to want to see this. We'll share that with you. And we're going to talk about a little bit of housing in the area before we wrap up the call, because it is the tale of two different markets all in the same spot. So we're going to get into some of those conversations. And as always, if you're new to this live stream, we welcome you to the conversation. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is we have been able to grow a community here. And feel free to bring your questions. We love to know where you're watching from. All right. We've got new Floridians on the stream with us right now. We've got people traveling the country right now. Shout out to Jane and celebrating their 30th anniversary on the road. Stacey, that is a huge
happy anniversary.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
So shout out to those guys. So Jane's going to this. She said they're going to go to New Orleans. I don't know how they pronounce that there. I want to make sure I get it right. But Jane, I've never been there, and all I ever hear about is these beignets. All right, so you gotta let me know how that goes. I'm very interested and intrigued to hear about that. But she's also going to stop by Texas. Lots of great barbecue there. I'm sure you guys will be fed well. Will not be a problem for y'all. So that'll be a good time. So it's good to see you. Good to see Carol as well. She says her first stream as a Floridian now.
Welcome, Carol.
Yeah, shout out to Carol. I love that. And of course, at the Cook's residence, it is always Taco Tuesday. We are so excited to be with you guys. Also, new Floridians, welcome to the stream, y'all. Happy to have you. Desiree's in the house.
Hi, Desiree.
Yeah, Desiree was checking in on my vacation. She gave me a shout out on the Facebook, so that was fun. That was a good time. I love that. It's always good. The girls were up in the Stacey, they were like 4 stories high in these trees. It was wild. It was Kate and Eva and Lincoln and I were like, nope, we're all set. Y'all have a good time. I'll stay with Cora. So me and the baby just hung out and did the lower version. But it was a great time. It was a great time. Tim, welcome to the live stream, sir. He says, watching from Lincoln, Nebraska. Love that. Sarasota Airbnb for no more than 10 days. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, it's getting close. Closing day is around the corner for the Cook family.
How exciting for you guys. I love that. Carol says, thanks, Desiree. Good to see you as well. And then we've got Tats and Tech. Patrick's in the house. Good evening, Patrick. Great to have you. And y'all, like we said, this is a community. We'd love to engage with you. If you have questions about the topics that we bring up, feel free to ask those in real time. If you have other questions that we're not discussing, feel free to put that in the comments as well. We try to get to all of them when we can. Sometimes you guys are so engaged, we don't have time to answer all of them. Other times we've got more than enough to cover, but we'll do our best. Also, if you're watching this later, feel free to leave a comment. I do answer all those personally, as long as it's a legitimate question. Opinions are welcome too. I typically don't respond to the negative ones, just FYI. So, but you're welcome. This is a free country and YouTube does not belong to me. So we'll do that together as a team and work through it. But so happy to be back with you guys. And just a kind of quick update. We went up and saw the family up in Michigan, which was an interesting time, Stacey. We got there when we hit, I would say, Ohio, the temperature really started to calm down. So we had to go pretty far north before it started to cool down quite a bit.
Yeah.
We got to Michigan, and the first day the weather was pretty good. It was a little hazy, and I didn't really know what was going on. But it was a little hazy, and then the second day it was like looked like something was on fire. And apparently, the Canadian wildfires were atrocious between
Mhm.
wind and whatever was going on. By the third day, it literally said, "Don't go outside." That's what the weather said. Yeah, it was so bad, and it was really bad. Kate's allergies were bothering her, whatever. And then the day afterwards, it cleared up and it was fine for the next 3 or 4 days. And I got to see friends and family. It was a wonderful time. For those of you that don't know, I'm originally from Michigan, and got to go up and visit friends and family. But that was enough. I had my fill of potholes. Um, road construction, Canadian wildfires, and I was all set. We were good with that. So from there, we went down to Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is about 30 minutes of Asheville, North Carolina. And as you know, we love to go to North Carolina during the summer and get some reprieve and have a fire because it's, sub 80 degrees at night, unlike Florida. Not that I don't love my home state, but we definitely enjoy a cool, crisp fire from time to time. And we were there, and they were getting a ton of rain. Like, apparently, this has been a thing all summer for those guys. They've just gotten a ton of rain, but it was a wonderful time. We had a great time. But I'm so happy to be home, happy to be back with you guys, and to talk about what we love most, which is what's happening here in Tampa Bay. So we're gonna get after that. Excited for it. All right, what we got? Patrick says, moved out of our Airbnb in Clearwater and moved into the rental house in Dana Shores for the next year. So until we are ready to buy. Loving Tampa so far. Love it. Love it, Patrick. It's great. Okay, cool. Stacy, we've got some cool stuff. I want you to kick off. Well, before we do that, Mr. Cook chimed in here. Let's make sure we get top priorities in place. Okay. We have a community here and we have members and they have rankings. And if you're a cook,
you're at the top of the list.
You're right. You're at the top of the list, right? So Brian says, last year, Canadian fire smoke blew down into central Indiana. Crazy stuff. Yes. Stacy, was it 3 years ago that it made it all the way to Clearwater? Do you remember that?
It probably was 3 years ago because I was in
wild.
Big City. Yeah.
It was wild. Because I was like, what's on fire in Clearwater? And it turns out it was the Canadian smoke. So we're with you, buddy. It is definitely interesting. It was hard to breathe. It was pretty tough. But okay, let's get into this. Stacy's got some cool stuff. Usually we kick off with, the deep. We're going to get into that, but she's got something cool, right? And I'll say this. We get a lot of questions about our reload clients about childcare, as an example, right? And what are the things to do for kids? And I have young kids, right? Like my oldest is going to be 13 this year. My daughter's 10 going on 42. I have no idea what's happening there, but I'm sure everyone who has a daughter knows what the deal is. I cannot understand it. And I have a 7-year-old, and it's always more difficult to do things with Cora, right? My youngest, because just like when we were at the Treetops adventure, there's only certain things that she's allowed to do. Now she wants to participate, but there's only certain things. So I love the fact that you're about to share something with us that, most they're not designed. Businesses usually aren't built for those types of parents. Daycare is one thing, but to build a whole company around giving kids something to do. And I think there's always a children's museum in almost every town. That's cool. But you can only do hands-on for an hour or two before you're out of things to touch.
Right.
Right. That's pretty much how it works. So I think you're bringing something really cool to the table. So definitely excited to get into what Stacy has to share with you guys. So let's talk about it, Stacy. What's going on here?
Yeah. So like you said, it is always a common concern when families meet with us and they're thinking about making the move here to Florida. They're always like, how are we going to meet people? And if you move to a big master plan community, they do make it easier with all the fun events they have. They draw people outside. Yep. But sometimes for the little ones, it's not so easy to be outside in Florida, like right now when it's so hot. So there's a new company that opened up, a new business in Wesley Chapel called Wondergrounds Play Cafe. And it's a really cute idea. They created different play areas for kids under the age of 6. And they combined it with a cozy cafe for parents. So you can schedule play dates and watch your kids play and have a nice pastry and a bougie coffee and meet new people. I
So
thought it was fabulous.
so you did such a good job of framing this. I'm going to call it what it is. I get to have a cup of coffee while the feral savages run wild. Right? It's, I mean, is that? I mean, I know that I'm a slow creature. I may not be the most delicate flower in the desert, but that's basically what I just heard you say, which gets me excited. By the way,
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
but that is cool, right? Oftentimes, if I've been in the coffee shops like you and I have. A lot of our clients will end up meeting at a coffee shop that's close to them
Mhm.
because you know how people are. They don't want to have you in the house if it's not perfect and they've got kids and it's like we don't
Right.
worry. We see all kinds of stuff, but they just feel better. And then we end up in a coffee shop and the kids are just doing laps around the table, right? Like while
Yeah.
they're trying to keep their sanity. And it's so hard because that's real life, y'all. Right. And I think one of the things, this is why when I saw this, I was like, this is a really cool thing because not every young children, I get it. And there are a lot of people who probably don't want to go get coffee here, but this place is perfectly designed for the person who it's for. Right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
to have that opportunity, I think it's great. And again, I think this is an untapped market, Stacy. So I love the fact that this is coming in. Location
Yeah.
is
Really cute
awesome as well. Let
idea.
me show that on the map for everybody here. Where is this exactly, Stacy? What are we looking at?
It is in front of the Target right there, on County Line Road. It's like Wesley
Yeah.
Chapel, New Tampa area. I
Yep.
think it probably will have a New Tampa address because it's right there on the border. But yeah, it's easy to get to and it's right there in front of Target. So you can go do some
Yep.
shopping and then sit down and have a bougie cup of coffee and watch your kids
That's right.
play with other kids.
Yep. And it's going to be a New Tampa address. That's how you get the bougie coffee. Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Desiree for recognizing that right away. I love that. I love that. That's great. Let me see here. Patrick says good spot for online workers if there's accessible. Well, it's gonna be tough to take some meetings in there, but absolutely, man. You can definitely go in there and get some work done while the kids are doing their thing. Take lots of hand sanitizer for sure. Because one of my buddies, Stacy, we always make fun of the kids. They're older now, right? Cora's 7, so she's finally past that stage. But y'all, I don't know if you remember this, but from like 3 to 5, we called them doorknob lickers. That's all they did. Like anything that could go in their hands and their mouth could make them sick. That's what our kids were
Right.
doing. Are we alone? Or were the only ones that went through that? Okay. All right. Because it was
Not
just
at
like,
all.
oh, every time we would go to one of those places like the bounce houses or Chuck E. Cheese or whatever the heck they had going on, Sky Zone, I knew we were coming home with some kind of new
Oh, yeah.
virus or something. I'm like, here we go. The house is going to be sick again.
Yep.
Just happens. Patrick said my 9-year-old twins still do that. Yes, well, I'm 47. I probably do it a time or two as well. So I get it. All right. That's great. Well, this is again another community spotlight that I think is awesome. And thank you, Stacy, for digging this up. This is super cool. And get into we hit a top 10 list this week, Stacy, and I think it's pretty exciting to start seeing Tampa's name recognized to things like this. And I'll get into this with you guys. This article comes from the Tampa Bay Business Journals, and as you can see here, it's titled "The Pay Raise Picture is Shifting. Here's where wages are rising the most." Dun, dun, dun. First of all, I love that. And the fact that I'm bringing this up, you guys know that we're about to be on this list, right? So that's good news. Okay. I'm going to get into this list here. Great article by Joanne says, despite a shifting landscape marked by tariff turmoil and economic uncertainty, wages in most metro areas are on the rise. That's good news. Okay. And then it goes in. This article was done based upon the research from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And it says weekly wages increased in 91 of the nation's 100 largest metro areas at the end of the first quarter. That'd be 2025. Okay. So that's January, February, March. That's as far as the data went. Now, what areas? Okay. So the national picture here talks about this. Augusta, Georgia had the strongest growth among the 100 metro areas analyzed, with a 21.8% increase year over year. Stacy,
Yeah, that's nice.
21.
Very nice.
Holy cow. Now, this is weekly wages. It's not annual. Like weekly wages went up 21%. Now, you were either in a really rough spot to begin with, or things are really growing. So, and there was a combination of both, right? So they rose from 965, 67 a week up to 1175 in March there. So that's great. Their population also grew by over 25,000 over the last 5 years. So, similar, well, we've had more growth, but also on a similar path there. And I wanted to share this with y'all. So let me get into this. I know this is small. Let me see if I can make this larger for everyone here, because this is tiny. That make it? Yeah, that made it bigger, right? You can actually see that one.
Yes, I can, and I don't have to put my readers on, so it's
excellent. So here we go. This is the top 10 on this list here. So you can see Augusta, Georgia, number 1 at 21%. Now this isn't the top wages; it's the top increase. So I want to make sure that I'm sharing that with you. I'm not trying to misrepresent anything. Idaho is up 14.5%. Ogden, Utah, which I believe is South Utah, is 13.8%. Syracuse, New York, up 13.5. San Antonio, 13.3. Now that's an area we've had a lot of people move from San Antonio recently to Tampa. And then Tampa comes in at number 6 at 12.7, followed by Seattle, Little Rock, Provo, Utah, and Columbus, Ohio, rounding out the top 10. So I thought that was a really cool thing to share with y'all. Definitely worth discussing when it comes to what's happening in the marketplace, especially from a pay perspective. Because let's be honest, man, not always the easiest thing in the world. And there's a lot of places that don't always have growth. So I think that's an exciting thing to kind of cover there. Now let me get into a little delay on interweb. There we go. I want to get into the bottom of it because they shared the bottom of the list too. Here it is. Okay. Where is it declining? Winston-Salem, North Carolina, down 13.6%. That's a big hit. Knoxville, Tennessee, which is an area that's growing, down 5.3%. Lakeland, Winter Haven, Florida, down 4.2%. People ask us about Lakeland all the time.
Yeah, they do.
Right? They ask us about areas like Lakeland and Ocala and all these secondary markets, Northport. Right? They ask us about these types of markets, and you can see Northport, Bradenton, Sarasota fell in this market as well. So they're in the top 10 of the declining. Again, 91 of them were all up. So I'm sorry, that they would be number 9 then, right? So a declining market there from a pay structure. Franklin, Tennessee, which is a really popular suburb of Nashville, that's actually declining too. So there's some interesting things on here. New Orleans, that wouldn't surprise me. Memphis, Tennessee, those types of things wouldn't surprise me, but it's interesting to see some of the other names on this list as declining wages. Definitely interesting to see that. Okay, cool. So let's get into, we got some questions coming in about this too. Andy, let me pull this up real quick. Andy says, do you know how the accounting fields is in Tampa? It's not my expertise, Andy. We have moved several accounting clients to the area. They were executives in that field. A couple of them own their own practices outright. So that's my experience with it. I'm not quite sure how to give you direction on that, but I'll tell you what, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. I'll go into the Tampa Bay Business Journal. They typically keep those types of records. Every year we get the top 100 employers in the area, and that'll give you some perspective on there. I have access to that. But if you shoot me an email, I'll try to track that information down to you and get you some names on that list that you should probably target. Hopefully that'll help. Okay, cool. Let's get into that. But like you said, Tampa in the top 6 of pay increase year over year. So that's weekly increases. That's a great stat to be included. Why is that happening, Stacy? This is what's going on. We want to know why that's happening. And you sent me this article while we were out. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is perfect for Tuesday. So I was already on it. Stacy was going to cover it. I was going to cover it. I was like, well, we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to get into it. But part of the reason why we're seeing these increases, obviously, we've had a big jump in tech. over the last 5 years. Tampa's really been known to attract a lot of young working professionals because we have beaches, we have sunshine, we don't have snow. There's a lot of reasons why the younger generation chooses to come here and maybe tackle that first job or that C level employment as well. But here's another thing that is happening here, and this is really important to try to give perspective on this. So Pasco County growth draws a wave of international businesses. Now, before we get into this article, Stacy, how many people we spoke to this year from either across the pond or in Canada looking to bring businesses here, not just move here?
Several.
Yeah, it's been quite a few.
Yeah,
more than a handful on each hand. I mean, it's probably been. I've been in somewhere probably between 10 and 20 Zoom calls of people looking to relocate. Their business was coming here or they were opening a business here. So that's what we've seen from overseas, which has been interesting. But Pasco County's growth, and for those of you who aren't aware, Hillsborough County is where Tampa proper is. And Pasco County is Land O'Lakes, Wesley Chapel, where Stacy is, San Antonio, Trinity, Newport Richey, those areas up there. Odessa, a lot that you'd be familiar with, but this article is wonderful. So it talks about the Economic Development Council that y'all have up in Pasco County, and it gets in here, and this company that was brought to the area. We'll get into the details here in a second. He said we had no idea that Pasco County even existed. He said it even existed, right? And this is what he said underneath. Pasco used to be a place where you would go and live, and then you go work in either Pinellas County, which is where Clearwater and St. Pete and I am, or you'd go to Hillsborough County, where Tampa is, right? And that's now changing, Stipe says, and Stipe's the owner of the company. So the UK-based G&H Photonics recently took over a building in Trinity. And Stipe serves as the general manager. The company manufactures optics for the United States military. And for those of you that don't know, we have a huge military contingency here between the Air Force Base, MacDill Air Force Base, but we also have a lot of defense contractors in the area as well. Okay. And that's been driving for a long time. That's been driving commerce here. But it says companies, including tech companies, understand that the labor base here is as good or better as it is anywhere else. So they are starting their companies here, and so are we, Stipe said. G&H Photonics is one of about a dozen international companies Pasco Economic Council has helped bring to the area. That's to date. That doesn't even include what's on the plan. We'll get into that here shortly as well, but it's great. Talks about the Economic Council and what other companies they've worked to bring in here. SimTech is another company. I'm sorry, SmiteTech is another company headquartered out of England that has also decided to pull up shop here in Pasco County. And the CEO, Alexander Smythe of that company, says there's a lot of development. And I love this quote, Stacy. Love this quote. He says, it seems very family friendly, very safe. So if I were to move over there, I have a 19-month-old and another one on the way. If it meant that I was moving over there, I felt it felt quite homey.
It's drawing the families.
Dude, that's great, right? Like what a approval there. I think that's fantastic. Looking ahead, the EDC, that marbles my mouth. Looking ahead, the EDC says more companies in healthcare and life sciences are expected to move to Pasco County to be near the Moffitt Cancer Center, new Sparrows campus. And we covered that in detail, right, Stacy, where that's their research facility out there that they're going to go 760 acres of that. It's wild. So I want to kind of come back to you on this, you being the authority in Pasco County, and just kind of talk about, you've been there for what, 11 years now, and the growth that you've seen, but just in the last 2 years alone, just it felt like we were kind of tapping out because people weren't relocating as much as they were during COVID. I mean, it was so wild the first 3 years of COVID. All we did was run around and move people in, and that's slowed down the last 2 years. But Pasco County it just feels like the pulse just keeps to push forward.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when he mentions, people aren't, just moving here to live here, they're living here to live, work, and play here in Pasco County. Like, you don't have to leave this area to have things to do and to find a great place to work.
Yep.
I mean, so many families that we meet with, they are moving here. They're, like you said, moving here to move their company here, or moving here because their company has relocated and they're relocating with them. So it's just, and with the traffic too, I feel like it's no longer as easy as it used to be to get into Tampa. If one member of your household has to drive into the city, but there's so much here, you don't need to. Businesses are coming here. So.
Yep. No, that's great. And again, I wanted to highlight this article. I realized it's probably a little bit small for you, everyone else watching on the screen here, but y'all, this is a great quote. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is because ultimately, when you guys reach out to us and say, hey, we're considering moving to the area, we love the opportunity to serve. It's been a blessing to our family and to our team. But this is what our clients are saying to us. This is somebody who's planting a business here, and work and needs a great place. Employment is one thing, but you still got to convince people, right, to come work for you. And most people don't want to work in an area that they don't feel safe, that they don't feel, that is family friendly. And that is something, yeah. And that's something that's super important. So to hear the CEO of the company say, if I was moving there, this is where I would be going, because this is how it made me feel when I was here. I think that's a huge point worth recognizing. So I love it. I think that's fantastic. As y'all know, there's a lot of development and growth happening in the area. Not everybody loves it. I understand. I'm a resident here. There are a lot of things that come along with that can be a challenge, right? Traffic, like Stacy said, there's just parts of that that are frustrating. But as a resident, what I see is my state investing in us. I see our counties investing in us. I see, most importantly, I see businesses and families investing in us. And for me, real estate fuels our life. But what I know is if you have economic growth and familiar growth, you're going to win, right? Because you're bringing in the next generation, right? And that's a huge win for your community. So I love that. I think it's great. So this is a great article, Stacy. Thanks for making sure that this came across the bow, because it definitely is a good one, and worth having that discussion. So I think that that's fantastic. All right, let's get that. We got some comments in here. Judgy says, hello, good evening. Love it. All right, my granddaughter, let me pull this down. Pull this down for now. All right. It says, my granddaughter is thinking about moving to the Tampa area from Indianapolis, Indiana, because she's not sure she can make enough to afford the cost of living, and she is afraid of the traffic. Okay. So we have people from Indianapolis area in this live stream right now. And on the screen. So, Stacy's a little bit further removed from a timeline perspective, but also from the area. And then, of course, the cooks who are watching live with us as well, they just moved to the area, and they're from Indianapolis as well. So, of course, we're never going to try to give anybody financial advice based up, because we don't know situations or anything that, and I'm not an FA. But what I'll say is this: there's a lot of opportunity in the area. So now,
yes, there is.
Right now, if you're somebody who thinks that everything should come to you, you're going to be challenged no matter where you are. Right. That's the reality of it. But if you're someone who doesn't necessarily want to wait for things to come to you, and you're out looking for opportunities, you'll find them here. Okay. Now, I don't know what your lifestyle is, right? You said your granddaughter, does she have to go to Mac every weekend, right, to get the newest May? I don't know. So these are things we'd have to learn about to have a better understanding. And traffic's, we're definitely congested, and it's gotten more and more challenging as the years go along, but you can make it. Don't try to live and work across town. If we can help give anybody this goes for wherever you live. All right. Try to get within a reasonable distance, and do your best to not have to go over major highways where they cross each other. I just drove across 8 states twice. I didn't hit any area where two major highways didn't intersect, Stacy, where we didn't sit there.
Yeah.
Right. And those are states that would most people not consider super busy. You know, Ohio's been under construction since 1977.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Endlessly. Kentucky it definitely has had its moments, right? Tennessee was crazy as we went through the day after we went through Asheville there was another mudslide in a situation between Tennessee and Carolinas there, which was crazy. And then the following day, Chattanooga got flooded. It was crazy. So this is a great question. Again, we'd have to know more about what she's trying to accomplish, what industry she's in to just give any direction at all. But at the end of the day, you can make it wherever you want. You just got to put the work in.
Yeah, it looks, her next comment is she's in the nursing field. So.
There we go.
And I mean, what kind of traffic are you used to, right? Because I'm sure there's plenty of people on here tonight, like Carol, who thinks we don't have a traffic problem. She came from California. So I was meeting with a family from New Jersey. They don't think we have a traffic problem. But yeah, it depends on where you have to drive into for work. Like here in Wesley Chapel, we have so many hospitals coming out here. Like you wouldn't have to drive into the city to go to work.
Yep. Huge hospital system out there. Speaking of that development, that's kind of where we were the Moffitt Cancer Center, their research facility there is one thing, and nursing is not necessarily in the research field, but Moffitt is a huge hospital system in the Tampa Bay area. When we're talking about oncology, you've got Orlando Health, Advent Health, Baycare. I mean, there is a ton of hospitals, and then all these new construction hospitals in the area. What you guys are looking at right now is it's the Tampa Bay Business Journal. It's their crane map. Crane is in the big pieces of equipment that move and build buildings. So it shows us where cranes are on the ground in real time. Okay. Which is a really cool thing to kind of have your eyes on. And I'm not going to break each one of these open, but I kind of want to share this with you. You got Skytown in St. Pete, which is an apartment complex going up. St. Pete mixed use project is going up. You've got they're going to tear down an iconic 60-year-old pub in Clearwater and put apartments over there. University of Florida wants to make Tampa Bay an ag tech powerhouse. They're going to invest $30 million in an AI center, which is pretty cool. There's a mixed use redevelopment in Dunedin taking place. The airport has another expansion taking place. Tropicana Field is being rebuilt. California investors just spent $38 million buying another piece of land. You've got the gas works in front of you there. 3 hospitals being built in real time. I mean, it's just endless. I can go on this list forever. It just seems like it never stops. Right. University of South Florida is moving forward with $130 million in construction projects. So there's a lot of activity in the area. Right. A lot of activity in here. Here's what Carol says: 100%. I haven't been stuck in traffic here. I-4, though it can be rough. Yes, I-4 avoided at all costs. That is all I'll say about that. I think Stacy and I are on the same page there.
Yeah, I will drive out of my way all the way around before I have to get on I-4.
She tries to avoid driving on what's RT number 450? Is that like state road?
Yeah, that's the interstate 465. Okay. Yeah. So she probably would not want to drive into Tampa. She'd want to live closer to where she worked, which is possible, like we said, with all the hospitals around here. Yep.
There's a lot of opportunity there. It's great question. And like we said, y'all, we invite the questions. Don't feel like because we're on a specific topic, you can't chime in or ask a question. We're here for you. We're trying to bring you the latest news, relevant topics that really revolve around what it's like to live in the area. And speaking of living in the area, Stacy, I'm going to offer everybody that's watching right now an opportunity to become my neighbor. Okay. Now, I will say this: if it was if I had to buy this home, I couldn't afford to be my neighbor. So don't feel judged if this isn't you. Okay. Because when I saw this house, I was like, holy moly. This is a good one here. All right. So Largo waterfront estate with equestrian facilities hits the market at $10.9 million.
Whoa.
Yeah. This house, I see this house all the time, by the way. Now this isn't directly next door to me, y'all. We're not there. But you can see it off the intracoastal waterway there. When you're in coming over the bridge, you can see it. And then as you come down into the Narrows in Indian Rocks Beach, you can see this property as well. But this thing is, oh my God, it's killer. What a house. But wait till I read this to you. This is phenomenal. Oh, where'd it go? Sometimes it doesn't work. There we go. All right. This is the best part. So it's a 7,000 square foot home at 10930 Spring Street. Is for sale at $10.875 million. The 5-bedroom, 7-bath estate sits on 5.86 acres. So people are always complaining about the lot sizes around here. I don't know why. All right. With direct access to the intracoastal waterway between Indian Rocks Beach and Indian Shores. Behind the waterfront estates sits a custom-built barn and horse riding area. Wow. So not only can you have waterfront property, you can have equestrian waterfront property. And this is the best part. The property last sold in 2009 for a whopping $415,000, according to Pinellas County records. This house wasn't on that property, by the way. Just everybody's trying to make their mind work on this. No, that house didn't exist. Okay. But boy, if it did, that would have been the steal of the century.
No kidding.
Right? That would have been the steal of the century. So if y'all looking to be my neighbor right off the intercoastal waterway, this house can be yours for the low price of $10.8 million, which would make it. Yeah. And here's a good map shop of it as well. Pulling in a little bit. This is the house right here. Right there. It's sitting right off the intercoastal. There's a marina right next to it too, right here. That's what you're looking at. This is the Narrows in Indian Rocks Beach, and then this is the beach. So it's good spot over here. I'm sorry, vice versa on that one. But it's a great spot. But this would make this home sale the largest home sale in Pinellas County for 2025 because one sold over in Snell Isle for $8.8 million. Just chump change around here.
Wow.
Right. just some chump change.
I wish I could be your neighbor.
This is great. Oh yeah, that house. We've been in a boat and went past that house. I'm like, that house is amazing. I had no idea they had a horse barn back there, all that other stuff. Cause I don't go hang out back there. It's gated and everything. Right. But it's beautiful. Desiree says, I sure have a bougie coffee at that house. Yes, we would. There is no doubt about that. Carol agrees. She agrees. Okay. What you say? Jane says, wow. They 2,000 square foot footage higher than my house. Okay, I think it'll be your neighbor. Come on down, Jane. We got it covered. Yeah, equestrian and everything. Now the horses don't come with it, so y'all know that's going to get a little bit more expensive. But what a great property! What a great property! I love that. Okay, we're going to get really into the weeds next week with real estate statistics, Stacy, because we'll probably get numbers tomorrow for the month of July. They haven't officially come out yet, but I'm going to share some numbers with you guys, just kind of like bring you up to speed on the Tampa housing market. And then we'll get into the weeds on this next week, kind of talk about what's going on here. So Tampa housing market specific, let's start with the United States. It's always a good place to start. So the median sales price in the United States is $443,462, up 1.4% year over year. So anybody who was calling for a real estate crash in 2025, you're going to now have to move that out to 2026. Y'all know how I feel about those people, right? We've been talking about this for 4 years, right? The fundamentals just aren't there. Now, do we have markets that are getting hit? Absolutely. We're one of them, by the way. We're one of them. But the reality is, even though that's true, you can find places where it's still going up. So we're going to get into that. All right, let's get into single family homes because I think that's important. 1.5%. up year to date. But again, 443 is the median home price. So now if we move into Tampa proper, which this is just going to be the city limits, y'all. This isn't going to be all the surrounding areas and suburbs, but we'll get into that. Tampa is sitting at 437. Okay, so the sales price is up, but they are down 4.6% year over year. If you get into single family homes, that number splits in half, down to 2.7%. We all know our condo market is not wonderful in Florida in general. So that's got a little bit of weight on it. And of course, the hurricane damage we had last year, I'm going to show you some of those communities as well. So let's go single family home. And then I'm going to pull, let me pull, since we were just talking about Largo, what's happening in Largo, Florida? Largo, Florida is up 2.7%. So even though we're right next to the coast and we're challenged with some of those things, you can see there's areas that are up. Seminole, Florida is another one. Let's take a look at Seminole because this is another hot area. Seminole, Florida, Stacey, is up 7.5%.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Year over year. And let me pull it up on the map because everybody's like, what the heck? About. We've been talking a lot about Seminole recently, and Southwest Largo. Not all of Largo is great, y'all. I want to be as transparent as I can about things. Not all of Largo is amazing. Let me pull you in the map here. Southwest Largo area, here down into Seminole here. This area is growing like crazy. You can get a lot of house for your money. You can get a lot of living for your money. So these are areas that have become extremely popular this year, with a lot of people wanting to move away from the coast to, people have moved from St. Pete to Orlando because they're tired of hurricanes, but they also have moved from St. Pete Beach to Largo, St. Pete Beach to Seminole. That's been a very normal thing. And some people are rebuilding and they're just coming to the area. So thought that was worth a share with everybody here just to kind of wrap. Let's look at the areas that were hit a little bit harder. I'll pull these out and I'll show you Clearwater, which has been up and down. And this month they're down 14% this month. Right. And look at it, just fell off the face of the cliff there because it was actually up. Right. So it's having this in and out kind of thing happening there. St. Petersburg. So there's a good opportunity also within some of these numbers. Take a look at those things. St. Petersburg down 4.8%. I think that's pretty good considering they got walloped last year. So shout out to those guys. They've had a little bit of a rebound there because it was definitely a tougher time for St. Pete during the storms there. But as you can see, we're having some wins there. Let's head up to Wesley Chapel. Let me pull that in directly. Since Pasco County in general, I don't know if they'll let us do county. Stacey, what do you think? We've never tried. Pasco, no, city only, but we'll do that. So let's check into Wesley Chapel real quick and see what we there. Up 2.9% on all types. Let's get into single family homes. 6.8%. All right. So this is a 3-year chart. If you go out 5-year, you can see the growth here. But, again, you're going to hear things like Tampa's real estate is crashing or Florida's real estate is crashing. Well, you just looked at 3 communities that are on the plus side, big time, right? 6.8%, 7.5%. These are communities that are winning. There's also communities that are down 14%. So, it's all about your ideal lifestyle and what you're trying to accomplish. But what I will say is this, and I think Stacey will back me up on this. We are in a buyer's market. All right. There are still properties that are going to, that are absolutely going, under contract in a weekend. That is happening, but a majority of the houses are not. Okay. So let's look at a little bit more data on this, Stacey, so we can kind of dig into this. The sale to list price in Wesley Chapel. Okay. Meaning what are they asking versus what are they receiving? On single family homes, they're getting 97.9% of the asking price on average. Okay, so if the house is, they're asking $100,000 as an example, there are no $100,000 houses in Wesley Chapel. If they're asking $100,000, they're getting $97,900 on average. Okay, now homes that sold above list price, there's still homes that are selling above list price. I know that sounds crazy, but right neighborhood, right community, good schools, renovated, brand new. There's all kinds of different reasons why that would happen. There's still properties doing that. Okay. Homes with price drops 30, almost 38%. So as you guys can see, this number has been up and down and up and down. Let's look at the last 5 years, up and down all over the place, but a lot of price drops taking place out there, especially on new construction. That's something worth watching. Where are people moving from? Who are moving to Wesley Chapel, New York, Washington, Miami, Chicago. Miami is always the interesting one. A lot of people getting out of Miami, moving to Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Chicago, I mean, look at these cities have humongous tax bills, right? A lot of them have terrible city services, right? And this is what's drawing people here. Boston, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, and Atlanta. And again, the jobs are on the grow. So this is something worth taking a look at. And I'm sharing this with y'all just because, again, I love information like this because I feel like it's valuable to our clients and to our viewers. And Stacy and I, you know, we are in the trenches with y'all. You know, we see what's going on right now. I think we have, when I looked this morning, Stacy, we have 21 families that have a pending home sale right now. All right. That's a lot of people. Y'all are amazing.
Yes. Thank you for trusting us.
Y'all are, and this has been like all year long. You know, like we've had like 20 every month. It's just been incredible. But I share that with you because even though you hear these things, right? And I always just shoot it as straight as I can. There are times when you should not ever consider making a move, right? Because it doesn't make sense for you or your family or your, you know, circumstance or whatever it is. And there are times when it absolutely makes sense. Only you know the answer to those things, right? Now, it helps to have good information. So if you guys want more info or you have questions about moving to the area, don't hesitate to reach out to us, y'all. We are here. All you have to do is one of two ways. You can literally text me that number on the screen. That's going to take you to this phone right here. Or you can go to thattampalife.com and just go right to the contact section. It'll ask you a few questions and then it'll give you an opportunity to even write a note in there about what you're trying to accomplish. And if you want to talk to Stacy directly, write Stacy's name and hey Juan, I don't want to talk to you. I want the boss. Right. And I'll make sure you get connected to Stacy, but we're here to serve y'all. We've got agents on the team that love helping. I mean, they're running around everywhere right now. Y'all are so busy, but we want to make sure that y'all get your questions answered and you have the opportunity to really dive into what's important to you and your family. Okay. So that's what we're here to do. We love sharing this information. I love what's the place called? The Wonder Grounds?
Yes. Wonder Grounds Play Cafe.
Yeah, that's great. I'll definitely have to take Cora in there. She loves talking to new kids. So that's a place where I can go take her and she can go run around. But there's a lot of fun things to do in the area. And I love the fact that you bring these things up. Stacy, what is the one thing that you're seeing right now from a housing perspective in the entire area? Like, what is the one thing that's surprising you most? I know I'm putting you on the spot right now, but like, what is surprising you the most about what is happening?
What I have seen in the last couple months is builders willing to negotiate on purchase price, whereas before they weren't. Like what they listed was the purchase price, and you know, you could negotiate on other things like incentives or getting a refrigerator, blinds, those kind of things. They wouldn't move on the price. And the last couple of months, they're moving. Like they're like, just submit an offer. And they're willing to negotiate. And I haven't seen that before. So that's been surprising to me. And on top of that, they're still giving you crazy incentives, buying down rates. I think the latest one is MI is doing a 2-1 buy down. So the first year is 3.875%.
Wow.
The second year is 4.875%. And year 3 through 30 is 5.875%.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a good deal. That's a really good deal.
And they're cutting the price on top of that. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And we're not the only market that's seeing this, right? So Jane says, same in San Diego. It's a buyer's market. Our house is still on the market. And we actually lowered our price, hoping it will sell soon. And then Carol said the same thing. Yep, we're in the same boat, Jane. So not laughing at you guys, having a lower price, because it's just the reality of it. But this is taking place all across the country. I know we talk about Tampa specifically, but I always try to anchor this by giving you guys some general information about the whole market too, because again, most of our clients are relocation clients. And they're coming in from different areas. So they're experiencing these different needs. And this is the time of the year too. So the other thing for anybody who maybe you're just put your home on the market or something going on, two things. Our kids just went back to school last week, sorry. They just went back to school here, which is 3 weeks ahead of most people up north, right? Our nephews and nieces have not went back to school up north yet. That happens after the holiday. But everybody's doing their final push to get vacations in the up north, right? Or get their kids ready for school. They're not thinking about buying houses. That is usually only half two moves at this point. Now it will start to come out of this slump after September. If you look at historically speaking, if I showed you guys the sales charts, September is always a big dip, and so is February. And the reason being is because back to school and holiday, right? Like those are the ones that suck people's bank accounts dry typically. So there's this kind of lull in between, and then things start to pick back up. So what we typically see here in Tampa Bay is October, we start to get busier again. November, everybody's trying to get into something before the holidays. December's usually slow for us. And then that second week of January, it's like the spring market up north. It just takes off. So if you're thinking about what's going on here, and I'm sharing that with you because compare that to what you've got going on. That'll give you a little bit of perspective and maybe some strategy on how to approach it too.
Yeah. And maybe instead of, lowering the price, maybe talk to your agent and a lender and try to offer incentives to make it easier for buyers to get a lower interest rate, offering them money to buy down point. Maybe that would be more beneficial than lowering your price.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to structure it. Stacy's great at that. Jane says we actually got some incentives on our house, and it's very unusual for a custom home builder. It is, but inventory is up, y'all. Like I'm going to get into that next week, by the way, with numbers. I'm going to talk about builders. Stacy, Lennar is building a investor site. They have a full-blown home investor site. They're targeting mom and pops, people like me and you who want to have a single family rental, because they have the highest amount of inventory they've ever had. Right. And they're trying to figure out how to get that, which is scary also for home buyers, because now this is why we'll get into this. Right. But man, it's like, the good and the bad, we'll talk about this, but this is why home builders got to keep building in order to make money. Right. And at some point, the interest rates are going to turn around. I don't know when that is, y'all. I'm going to talk a little bit about that next week too, but there's going to be some interesting things happening. So we're going to get into the weeds, and that's a little hook for next week on housing, but we'll get deeper on that for sure. All right. Elizabeth says, I've missed watching you guys, usually coaching now, but at home sick tonight. Oh, I'm sorry you're sick. You just traveled too. So did you go out west and bring home the cooties? Now Wes has got to suffer for that. Yeah. I'm going to text you guys afterwards, find out how he's doing. But welcome back. We're glad to have you. That's fantastic. Carol says, welcome back, Elizabeth. Hope you're feeling better soon. Yes, we hope you feel better, of course. Elizabeth is one heck of a fitness trainer. Y'all got to check her out. Go check out her Instagram. We've talked about this a million times. She's all over the place. She said, yep. Serves you right. You went out west and you brought back the cooties. You see how it works? You're supposed to leave it out. No, I'm kidding. So that's great. Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, I can smell my dinner is on the table. So I am going to call it quits for this evening. We'll be back next week. We are going to get into the weeds a little bit on real estate. We're going to talk about some new construction. I'm going to talk about some things I'm seeing in certain areas that I don't necessarily love. We're going to talk about some great opportunities. Stacy and I will put those together. We're also going to have Stacy, not only Stacy with us next week, but we're going to have Madison come in and do a segment here on Pinellas County. And just so y'all know, as the year kind of rolls along here, we're going to start bringing the other team members in. Like I said, I've been slow to do that for a reason, because listen, they got to earn the spot to come hang out with y'all, right? They have to earn their spot, and they've done a great job of that. So I want to make sure that y'all are being able to connect with our other team members here as well. But if you have any questions about the area, don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said, if you want to get connected to Stacy directly, just put it in the notes. I'll make sure that you guys make that connection. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. Thank you for the patience and giving me time off with my family as well. And I know Stacy would love to do this, but she hates technology, y'all.
It would be scary. It would be so scary.
We love hanging out with you, but I know if I made her do this, she would never do it again. So we'll just take it easy on that and take some time off from time to time. But appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the flip side. And as always, until next time,
Go out.